Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Darren. I hope you all are well, and this is another stitch with me. So today we're doing my cross stitch studio chart, which is native Wolfe, which was brought to me by Pam, and I really need to get some more of this done as with all my other projects. So today it's going to be slightly a little bit different. We're going to do how I do tent stitch. A couple of people have asked for a kind of demo. They wanted on 25 count, but I haven't got any 25 count. So it's going to be on 28, but it's exactly the same way of how it's all done. So this is where we're up to. Excuse me. This is where we're up to at the moment. And I asked Betsy if it was okay if I showed part of her design on Pattern Keeper so that you can see what I am actually doing. So I've already highlighted the colour that I'm going to be doing. So which is this one here, which is colour 931. So this is what I'm going to be working on, so that I can give you a rough idea. Now, if anyone can get the full pattern out of this little bit that I'm showing, then you really need to give me the lottery numbers, because you must be really good. So this is what we're going to be doing today. So we'll see how it goes. Haven't quite mastered it all yet. I now need to figure out where I'm starting. Here, just out of the view of the camera, obvious. So I'm doing 2/1, which means that I start with the loop method. So one piece of fabric floss folded in two. So let me just find out where I'm going to be starting. There. So I'm hoping you can see this all okay. So, for those who don't know how I do the loop method, so I start from the front. Some people start from the back. Pull it through, put your needle through the loop, and then push it down. There we go. Simple. Right. So let me just find out. So with tent stitch, if you're not used to it, getting to do the counting part can be a little bit confusing, because you're used to your full cross, so you know where to line things up. So obviously on here, because I'm using the pre-gridded one, I always start my first stitch on the grey line. So the first hole here that you can see is number 1, then the one just before the next grey line, which is, I'm trying to see in the camera as well, which would be here, will be number 10. So this is how I work it out. It makes it easier for me. Some people like to start just after the grey line, but however you count is for your blocks of 10 is the best way. So the next one I'm going to be doing is this one just here. So that will be my second hole in. I'm hoping I've got this zoomed in enough for you so you can see. So this is, so as I say, the hole just in front of it is number 1, which is on the grey line. So this is number 2. So that's there. And then I need to count over, I mean, need to miss 2 stitches and then number 3. So again, you just count your holes. So that's 1, 2, and that will be the third one. And you can't even see. Let's try that again. So as you can see, miss 2 holes, and then this will be the third one. Like that. And then, so let me highlight these as I go along. So I've done that one and those 2. So the next one will be this one here. So how I do this, I count down from the nearest stitch to it. Actually, we'll do this one. So I need to miss 1 square, and then it's going to be 1 underneath. So that's 1 square, and then it's the 1 under. Perhaps if I look what I'm doing instead of so there. So that'll be that one. Now I always do my 10 stitches this way. So a lot of people do the, if you're doing your normal cross, I always do this leg first and then the following leg. Now, I do my 10 stitches the way I do my first leg. Some people prefer to do it doing it the second leg, which is the one that goes over the top, but I just find it easier this way. And then the next stitch, I need to miss one and then go in again, which is there. Now, I do apologise as well if this is a bit choppy today. I'm expecting a phone call from Shane. I've sent him out shopping. So he's picking me up a computer desk from Officeworks. It's only a cheap one, but it'll do for now for what I need. And then he's going to Bunnings because he needs to buy some more potting mix and more plants. I don't know what he's getting. He's getting some vegetables apparently, but I don't know what. I don't know why, because he buys them every year and we never eat them. So yeah, so I'm expecting a phone call from him at any point. Right, so that's those two. So I apologise if you keep seeing this zooming in and out. So that's those two done, not that one. So then the next one I want is the one in between and then the one underneath. So the one in between, so I always count down below the one I've stitched, and I always go through where the leg starts because that is where the stitch would normally be, and then I go across one, like so, and then into there, and then the next one across. Now with 10 stitch, when you've got it and it's a lot of confetti in the same area, when I first started I always found it pretty hard because say I needed to do the stitch that was above this one, for some reason I always used to end up going in that hole, which is not the correct one. It always needs to go in the hole prior to it, like that. So it depends as well how you stitch, whether you do per stitch or if you do cross country or however. So basically you just count, all I do is you just count your holes so that you know which stitch you're going into. It makes it a lot easier than trying to work out from your stitches that you've already got there. I don't know why, but full cross I don't have a problem working out where I am with stitches. 10 stitch I always do. I always end up going in the wrong spot and then I end up having to frog more than I needed. So it's like this one is that and then the one underneath it. So as you fill that one in, it kind of gives you a straight line there. But if you were to cross over that, it would just be a normal cross. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm not very good at doing tutorials. And then I need to do 3 more here. And what I might do is I might pick another colour in between these so that you can see how it does. I'll do this block of 10. And then I'll pick another colour and we'll switch it over. I'll try filling some that are around it so that you get the gist of what's going off. So, let me get these done. Also as well, when you, like with this one, this row that I'm doing here finishes under this very final stitch. And this is sometimes where I go wrong as well. I finish the stitch when it goes into that hole instead of going another stitch. So like here, sometimes I do that and it's like, oh yeah, I've done that row and then I've got another stitch to go. So that's one thing you've got to be careful of and all. So yeah, with the 10 stitch, they always end up underneath each other if it's coming to like a certain section. But I always end up going not far enough. So this here, this stitch I'm putting in here would be number 10, because it's the last one just before the grey line. So that would be number 10, and then I actually need to do the next one. So this will be number 1 of the next 10 by 10 block, like so. I'm hoping this makes sense. As I say, I'm not the greatest person at doing demos for stitching. Now I always do my stitches the same way. Some people will go one way, and then when they come back they will start the next stitch, like say for example up here, and this is for continental tent stitch, so it kind of does a different pattern on the back and it says it secures it. Now I find with the continental stitch it actually warps your fabric, whereas doing it this way it doesn't. So I would just do it exactly how you do a normal cross stitch. So if you normally go like from bottom to top, do it that way. Don't go bottom to top then top to bottom, because it will warp your fabric doing it 10 stitch wise. And then obviously when you've finished your piece, you then have to do a lot of, what do they call it, blocking, where you've got to try and straighten your project up. Now I need to actually go up here and do 2 more stitches. So again, moving up, again, it's just the same. So you count up through your holes that you've got. So 1, 2, then I need to go there. And then across to there. So it is, in a way, the same as doing your normal cross stitch. You just have to be a bit more wary of where you're counting and how it lines up with the stitch above it or at the side of it. So I'll just get this block finished, and then, as I say, I'll pick another colour. Apologies again if I'm wearing the foam pink. So once I get my new computer desk set up, it will mean that I can then do my stitch with me's in my, what will be my study room and craft room. So that will mean that I will be able to use my proper overhead camera and have my piece in my Lowry stand while I'm stitching. So that might make it a little bit easier for both you and me. And this is the last row, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, and then 1, 2, 3, 5 again. So I always use the, when you're looking on the pattern keeper, I always use the grid lines as well, so I know when to stop. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm doing this row, where am I? I'm doing this row here. So I know I'll stitch across until I get to the second hole in, and then I miss one, and then to the line, if that makes sense. So I'll stitch, and then this will be my last one because I've got 2 holes then to the left of it. And then I miss the one, and then we go there. And then this one goes across all the way. So for the second one in. see if you can see. I say it all depends on how you actually count your stitches when you're actually doing your cross stitching yourself. Well, I missed one in there. And then I will park this one where I'm going to continue with it next, which will be there. So let me just mark these off, and then I'll switch colours and then show you how I do the colours in between. So for the next colour, I'm going to go with this cross, I think. There's a fair few of them. So 169. 169, here we go. I have all my colours on thread drops. These are my homemade thread drops out of cereal boxes and cards and everything else. So, on the back, cereal boxes. And then I've got a couple of cards and, yeah, so they're my homemade ones. I really should either invest in some proper card and a cutter, or some plain cards and like Gail Phillips does and just punch holes through it. Right. So again, I'll start on the same block. Actually, I'll start a little bit above it because I've got just 3 stitches above this block where I started. So this is the block I've been doing. So my next stitch that I'm going to start is somewhere around here. There, that one. So I would again count in 2 squares from underneath the last one that is marked up there. And it just so happens to be a grey one on a grey line, which is fantastic. So 1, 2 in, and then there is where I will be starting. Once you get the hang of 10 stitch, it is really easy and you can get some really good speed up with it. And then I need to miss 2. So it's all about you counting really. And then the next one will go above this one here. So you always go all above it. Like so. And then we have 1 on either side of the very first stitch that we did. And then miss 2 and 1. So yeah, it's always worthwhile knowing that. Go by your grid. So always work from if you're doing it on pre-gridded, your grey line. If you grid it yourself from wherever you draw your line, I always class that as number 1. It just makes it so much easier for me to work it out. I say everybody has their own technique of how they do stuff, so it's however you find easier. But it's until you get the hang of 10 stitch, it can be a little bit daunting, if you like. When I first started my Mini Deer Creek, that one was done in 10 stitch, and the amount of times I got lost on that one and put stitches in the wrong spot is unbelievable. You wouldn't know it, but I used to get lost on that one a lot. There, this one. Now it does get, when you've got more and more filled in your 10 by 10 block, it does get a little bit more trickier to realize where you are. So, I mean, you can see these here, where the gap is, and you just have to remember that in that gap there is 2 stitches that need to be filled in. So it's just double checking everything really, just to make sure you have it all in the right spot. So until you get the used to it, I would just say take your time. Don't rush trying to get the speed up straight away. It's the same as with any cross stitch. Don't rush to get your speed up. Your speed will come naturally once you've got the hang of things. So this one, I need to fill in all of these. Back up to here. But yeah, I don't know why, but for 10 stitch, obviously, because this is 2/1, it kind of fills the holes in a lot more than you would do with your normal cross stitch. So sometimes you think you've got all your stitches in and you haven't. So it's just a case of being aware of what you've stitched and what you haven't. If you haven't got it marked off, it's not stitched. You just need to work out where that stitch is. Come here. Thank you. But as I say, once you get the hang of 10 stitch, it is really, really easy and really, really quick. And you can get so much done in such a short time. So let me just park this where I'm going to continue with this one. Yeah. And I'll mark these off. What to do with this? Now I did miss some. I'll not finish them off. I'll finish those off in a bit. So that's, where are we? Yeah. So that's what the block's looking like at the moment. And then we would pick another colour. So let's go this one. 160. So let me just find that one. Again, with finishing your threads on 10 stitch, it's exactly the same how you would do it normally. So if you do pin stitches, you can just pin stitch it. If you run them under the back, again, just run them under the back. Just make sure it's anchored in properly. But it's exactly the same as just doing cross stitch. You're just doing the first leg. And that's what confuses a lot of people when they first start doing it. Because you're that used to doing full cross, remembering to do, you're only doing one leg, is the hard part. So this one will start in here. So this is where you have to be careful now, because when you've got part threads you catch them, because obviously your squares filling in, you have to be aware of how many stitches you have. Like this one's got 2. So now, as you can see, I don't know how close you can see that. I'll lift it up a little bit. So here there is space for one more stitch, but you can't really see it because it fills in that well with 10 stitch. So you just have to be that little bit more careful with your marking off, depending on if you're doing it in paper chart or if you're using pattern keeper. So you just have to go that a little bit more careful to make sure that 1, you mark it off correctly, and 2, that you've filled in the stitches. Because otherwise you're going to end up with finding a bit later on a stitch that you've not done, and then you don't know which colour it's meant to be, because obviously when you get fuller and fuller you can't count your 10 by 10 grids. So with me, I mean, I don't seem to do too bad with 10. And once you're getting used to your colours, you know which one's what, so you can kind of judge where your 10 by 10 grid is from what you've stitched. But it does get a little bit more trickier when you come into filling it in. And if you don't pull your ones tight enough, I don't know if you can see this here. I'm going to lift it up again. If you don't pull your, where am I? Here. If you don't pull it tight enough, you do get like a little knobbly bit on the top, like that part there. So sometimes that will cover your hole up. So you just have to make sure that you do stuff. Like make sure your tension's good for filling these in. There we go. Do that one. And then we'll park this one here. And then I just mark those off. Button. So that is how I do 10 stitch. So it's easy enough. Honestly, you just got to get used to making sure you count correctly, for one, and that you're in the correct area. So it can get a little bit tricky sometimes when you've just got like one single stitch on its own, like here, and you're like, no, especially if you've got like on the grid lines, and you're like, is that a stitch or is that just the grid line? So making sure you mark off in the correct spot is an advantage. So then you definitely know where you're up to. So, right. So I hope that helps everybody. So if you do want any more advice on doing the 10 stitch, please let me know. And it also helps as well if you mark down where you've parked your thread, if you're parking, so that you know which ones you've done, which I did not. Let me just go and mark these. So I'm going to get on now and just do some stitching and chatting. Now I don't know why, but just lately I'm having a right problem threading needles. I don't know if anybody else is the same. I can stitch for a couple of hours, it'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, that's it, I can't stitch, I can't thread a needle to save my life. So I don't know what's going off there. But yeah, I'm gonna say last night when I was stitching, one of them was taking me forever to try and thread this needle, and I could not get it threaded. It was just not playing whatsoever. So I ended up getting a needle threader out, which I never use, but in my project bag that I got off Nicole from Devon Ellie Studios when I went to the retreat, I had a needle threader in there, which was good. And it only just fits through the eye of the needle because I only use size 28, so it only just fits through the eye of the needle. But it worked, except one time I kind of pulled it a bit too much and I actually snapped the thread. But never mind. See, here we go again. Can't thread a needle. And again, apologies, that might have been really, really loud down your ear, look. I'm I'm waiting for the phone to ring, because I know it's going to ring sooner or later. Also, tell Shane to get me a new orchid as well while he's out. I have one here, but it doesn't seem to be doing much. He's got some baby orchid plants on it after it flowered. So I thought, oh, they don't generally, well, the ones I had in the UK don't generally take that long for them to grow roots, so I can take the babies off the mother plant. These ones have been there for ages, and they still haven't grown roots. So I don't know what's going on with them. So, but I like my orchids. So I told them to get me a new orchid if they have any. Last time we went there, they didn't have any. So I'm hoping they do now, so I can have another orchid. But we will see what he comes back with. Knowing Shane, nothing. I also told him to get me another dahlia. I've got 2 dahlias from the last time we went. So I told him to get me some more. So if you've watched my latest update video, you know I had great fun trying to apply for college. And for those who keep asking, sorry, I've not even mentioned what I'm going to do. So at college, I'm going to study accountancy, bookkeeping, and payroll. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now this, I did start when I was in the UK. And I started, apologies, let me just get my scissors. Sorry for that, if it made you feel sick. I hate it when you get your threads and one's longer than the other, like that. I'll snip them off. So yes, so I started it when I was in the UK. I completed the first year. Now, the UK's accountancy is a bit different to over in Australia for some reason, because Australia you've got your superannuations and everything else. But I started it in the UK. I completed the first year. I started the second year, because it was a 3-year course. I started the second year, and I was halfway through it when they found my brain tumour. And then they told me that I would be getting that removed within like a month and a half. So I spoke with the lecturer about whether or not I would be able to continue with my studies from having the tumour off, because I would need to miss about 3 weeks of college. And he said no. He said it's too, for the second year, it's too fast a pace, and I would never be able to catch up with the work that they were doing. So we agreed it would probably be best if I dropped out. But he said once everything's sorted and I want to come back, then they can pick up where I left off, because obviously they know whereabouts I was up to. So we could pick up where I left off and continue my studies. And that never happened, because obviously I was working out getting over here. So I thought, well, there's no point starting studies again to have to drop out because I'm moving over here. So I thought I'll wait till I get over here and then do it over here. And then when I got over here, obviously I was waiting for having the money to start it, because I was going on the prices of international students, which is an awful lot to do the same course. So for my course, it's $4,000 unsubsidized. Now hopefully I should get a subsidy for that one, so that'll bring it down. Well, it's actually nearly $5,000 to do the course. So for international students, it's probably double that, so it's about $10,000 to do the course. So I was going on those prices, so I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford that. So I never looked into it when I got over here, which is a bit silly since I've been over here nearly 3 years now. I could have had it all finished. But then obviously when I've looked into it more, it's a case of, oh, I didn't need that. I was looking at the wrong one. So now, as you know, I'm applying for it. So fingers crossed. It shouldn't take too long to hear. And so when I phoned them up with regards to sending in the documentation, they said that there is a backlog. There's that many people applying for college at the moment. So maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer before I hear. And that if I haven't heard within 2 weeks, to give them a call back so they can chase it up. So I was like, fair enough. But, how can I say? They said that, and I sent everything in, and then I got an email through telling me that I'm at the price of the course and that I may be able to get subsidy. So I was like, okay, well, obviously they've started processing it. And then I got another email when I got up this morning. So I don't know what time they sent it yesterday. I didn't check my emails before I went to bed. So I got another email telling... Sorry about that. I told you I was waiting for a phone call. So Shane's managed to get me a orchid. I went, awesome. How much is that? He went, I don't know. There was no price on it. I was like, okay then. Well done, Shane. And then he's picking me up. He's picked me up another dahlia as well. Now he's picking up some gerbras. A load of potting compost. So, looks like he's going to have a busy afternoon. And he's also picked up his vegetables as well. So. But yes, as I was saying, so college, I'm looking forward to it. So it's going to be fun. So I can't wait. But I think the next intake now, because I missed the cut-off for this month, will be October, I believe, is the next intake. Unless, because the one I'm doing is going to be online, unless they allow you to start straight away. So if you're allowed to start straight away, then that's fine. But some of them missed. Some colleges will allow you to do a start as soon as you've enrolled and paid your first fee. Others they have set times when you can start them. So with it being online, I don't know how it's going to work. And this is what I mean. I can't thread a needle to save my life. Where's my needle threader? Apologies. So, I don't know why. Sometimes I can thread them really, really easy, and sometimes I just can't. So this is a needle threader that I got off Ecole. So it's just a little thing. And hopefully I don't... And I'm not very good with them. Well, not when I'm filming anyway. There we go. Again, I think it's a bit too big for the hole of the eye. I'll say most needle threaders all seem to be the same thickness. It's not very often you get ones, I think, that are thinner for like 28 needles. And then I've got my needle. Did I do that one? Yes. I might as well get these done in now that I started them. So yes, it's going to be fun, but as I say, it depends how quickly I can get through the course. It says it's going to take up to 18 months. But that is based on, you get 2 units per session. So you get 2 units. Once you've done those 2 units, you can then say you're ready to do the next 2 units. Did I do them? No. So they recommend you do 2 units every 12 weeks. But obviously if you finish them before, you can obviously enroll every 6 weeks, I think they said. So if it's stuff I'm used to from when I did it last time, then I'm hoping I can get it done quicker than the 18 months. So if you hear my phone go off again, I apologise. Shane's going to ring me when he's going through the checkout. Or when he's getting ready to go to the checkout. Just in case we need to get anything else. So, yeah, so hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get that done pretty quickly for the course. But we will see. And the good thing with the course as well is... Told you it would ring. The good thing with the course as well is you don't have to pay for it all up front. So you just pay for it as you do each session. So say if I get the subsidised one, then I think it's about $1,000. So obviously that's over 6 enrolments, as they call it. So that's what, $200 and something at a time. So you just pay that $200. Where am I? I missed a stitch. Oh, well, never mind. So yeah, so you just pay that $200 every time you enroll into your next section. So which isn't too bad. So I want to pay for it all in one go. Which also gives me time to save up for the next section. And then I have to get my Microsoft Office, which isn't cheap. A couple of people did mention that some colleges and that can get you it free, but I don't know if they do that over here. So once I've enrolled, I'll find out. Fingers crossed they do. But yeah, it's a bit of a pain how they've changed Microsoft Office. I say before you just used to pay a one-off fee and you had it for however long you needed to, and you could spread it over so many computers, and now you can't, which is a bit silly, but never mind. So I do have questions as well that I've had over the last week or two. So those ones I will answer in my next Stitch With Me. Because now I've got a couple. Sorry again. So yeah, so I'll go through those questions on my next Stitch With Me and get those answered. So I have a few. Obviously they would have all got answered last week had I done my Stitch With Me. As I say, unfortunately, college and that took my priority, trying to get that sorted out. give you a work update. So I ended up working with the boss. I don't know if I've mentioned before, he broke his truck the other week. And he kept looking at new trucks. And I was like, okay, they're going to get a new truck. Excellent. So he was out of the way for over a week. And then this week, he decided he was going to work in the shed. Now, the only saws he normally works on in the shed is the saw I'm on, or the saw that Shane used to be on. Now, the saw that Shane used to be on is now got 2 people on there, so there was no room for him on there, so he was working with me. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, I think I have, that my boss thinks that the only speed that you should work at on my saw is supersonic speed. So, needless to say, I had fun. He was flying these pieces of wood through, and I'm running around like an idiot, trying to get them all stacked. But he kept turning the speed of the saw up, and every time he turned around, I turned it back down again. And then he wouldn't realise, and then he'd leave it a bit later on, he'd check the speed again, then turn it up, and then as soon as I turned around, I'd turn it back down again. Like, there's no need to be working at that speed. Nobody else works at that speed? I'm not working at that speed. You can harness to it. And needless to say, he also broke my saw. So he's broke my saw twice. So the first time, he blew one of the, we have like air lines going into the saws for the rollers. So they push down the wood to make sure that it cuts it even. He managed to, I don't know how, but he managed to split one of those. So I got that fixed. He didn't get it fixed, I got it fixed. Because it's my saw, I have to deal with it. So I have to phone the engineers up to get them to come out and fix my saw. So I got that fixed. And his son came out. He said, he's only been on the saw like 2 days. He says, and he's broke it already. I went, yep. And then the second one is the one that controls the, sorry, you can't see, the speed of the saw. Because he wants it going as fast as humanly possible, he kept turning it up. I know I said I kept turning it down as well, but he still kept turning it up. And then he'd turn it up a bit more. And then he'd turn it up even more. Well, towards the end of the shift on Friday, he was sorting something out. So I thought, right, I'm going to turn this saw right back down again, because there's no need for it going the speed that it is. And he'd actually broke the knob off for the speed of the saw. So this saw is now stuck going at warp speed, and I can't turn it down. Now the thing with my saw is not a brilliant saw, and if you need to cut the wood at a specific length, and it has to be accurate. Some companies want it to be absolutely accurate. You're not allowed nothing to be over or under. But in order to do it on my saw, you have to turn the saw down. It has to go through slowly. So there's no way I can turn it down now. So it's on warp speed for however long it takes till I can get this saw fixed. So my first job on Monday is to try and turn the speed down. Now I think I may be able to do it inside the saw. There's a regulator switch inside it. So I'm hoping I can do it in there. If not, I'm going to have to get the engineer out to fix it again. So this will be the second time that the engineers had to come out to fix my saw in the space of a week. No, 2 weeks. A week. Third time, sorry. So it's already been out twice, so this will be the third time. So this is going to be a fun week at work. Now, his truck was meant to be fixed Wednesday, but they were waiting for one part to be fixed, well, sorted. So they got the new part in, and then it had to go off to another company to get manufactured to the right specification or something like that. Anyway, it finally got done on Friday. So I'm hoping they will get it fixed we was off yesterday, but the mechanic was still going to work yesterday. So I'm hoping he was working on his truck, so it's fixed for Monday, so I don't have to worry about putting up with the boss again. He also tried killing me as well. So we have another saw that we haven't used for a long time, and it's on top of the shed. Well, inside the work shed, there's another shed where they store stuff, and it was on top of this other shed. So he asked me to help him get it down. Now, he was driving the fork, and I was on top of the shed. The steps to get up into it, I didn't just climb on it. So I'm up there, and he gets this saw. Now, the fork doesn't get in close enough. So he got in so far to pick it up and pull it forward, and then put it down to go back in again. So brought it forward a bit, put it down, went back in again, picked it up. Bearing in mind, he wasn't even over halfway in this saw. And he decided he was going to carry on dragging this saw. And it got right towards the end of the shed. And I'm shouting at him, but the manager is deaf. He's deaf as. So he has hearing aids, but he didn't have them in, and he had earmuffs on. So he couldn't hear me whatsoever, and I'm shouting him to stop, because as soon as he was going to drop the forks down to move back in again, this saw would have just dropped straight off the end of the shed, with me hanging onto it. So I'm swinging off the end, trying to keep it down, so it didn't just tip, and shouting at him to stop. Anyway, he eventually saw and stopped and pushed it back on a bit, and then dropped the forks to move them back in, and he still didn't have it on the edge of the roof properly on top of the shed, and it started going. So I'm swinging off the end of this saw, trying to hold it onto the shed while he re-maneuvers the forks into it. And then the mechanic was there, and he was like, "Oh my God, does this bloke know how to drive a fork truck or not?" I was like, "Nope." He's terrible, the boss, at driving the fork. If he can't do it first time, he just rams stuff. So yeah, he's absolutely terrible. So yeah, so needless to say, on Friday, not only did he break my saw, he also nearly killed me. The joys of working with the boss. Never again. Well, say never again. I'll be doing it on Monday. So, but anyway, I'm going to leave this here then, guys. So, hope you enjoyed that little bit. Hope that demo was okay for those guys who asked for it. And I hope it kind of gives you a bit more inkling of how to go around working with 10 stitch. As I say, once you've got the count inside down to it, it's really easy. It's just remembering which holes to go down, because you're not doing the full cross. So it kind of confuses you a lot if you're used to just doing full cross and then switching over to 10 stitches. It kind of confuses you a lot. I say with my mini Deer Creek, I confused really easy on that one. I was like, where the heck am I going here? So probably half the colours in my mini Deer Creek was in the wrong spot, but never mind. So I'm going to leave that here. So again, I don't know how long this one's going to be, because obviously I had to stop and start it. But hopefully it's about 50 minutes-ish. I'm hoping. So any questions or comments, please feel free to drop those down below, or send me on email. Again, everything's linked down below anyway. But you can send it on email at dizzystitcher@gmail.com, or on Instagram at dizzystitcher. And we'll get those answered in a future Stitch With Me. I don't know what I'm doing for my second one yet. I haven't decided. We'll see. But hopefully this one was all okay for you. So again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And I will catch you in my next video, whether it be my next Stitch With Me or my update. But until then, stay safe, happy stitching, happy crafting, and I'll catch you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Oh, I never told you. I've done 225 stitches today, and I'm at 4.88%. So on this piece altogether, I have done 13,586 stitches out of a possible 278,421. So a while to go yet. So that's that. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye for now.